Colin Cowherd just ended Kelsey Plum on live television, and the WNBA will never be the same.
Kelsey Plum for LA had to take a dig at Caitlin Clark.
While Plum was busy skipping meetings and running her rival league, Caitlin Clark sat calmly on NBC, carrying a sport that veterans have been quietly destroying from the inside. The lies are out, the conflict of interest is exposed, and jealousy? It is uglier than anyone realized. This is not just a sports story. This is a power shift happening right in front of your eyes. The truth Cowherd dropped is something the veterans hoped would never reach you. Stay with us because what we are about to reveal will completely change how you see this entire situation. The woman who walked into the room. Caitlin Clark did not announce herself. She sat down, adjusted her mic, and got to work. That NBC analyst desk moment was not planned as a power move. When Clark was not trying to send a message to anyone, she was just doing her job, breaking down plays, talking ball, answering questions about the CBA with the kind of calm that made everyone else in the room look nervous by comparison. But here's what made it hit so hard. Caitlin Clark is the same person veterans spent 2 full seasons trying to sideline. She walked into the WNBA, and the old guard treated her like an outsider who had not paid her dues. She got elbowed away from the ball. She got fouled with a little extra edge. Veterans gave interviews minimizing her rookie numbers. Players posted passive-aggressive comments about how the league was bigger than one player. She dealt with all of that quietly and kept scoring, kept passing, kept filling arenas that had never seen a sellout in years.
As we all know, Caitlin Clark has changed the face of the WNBA, whether it's ticket sales, how to play the game.
And then she sat down on national television in front of millions of viewers and talked about the collective bargaining agreement without blaming a single person. No shots fired, no victim story. She said she believes a deal will get done in the next couple of weeks. That was it. Clean, confident, professional. Clark did not use that platform to demand a seat at the negotiating table. She did not lecture anyone about fairness. She did not remind the world that she is the reason the WNBA has the leverage to even negotiate these kinds of numbers right now. She just showed up, did the job, and walked out, leaving everyone else looking small. Now think about the timing for a second. The league was in the middle of a full-blown crisis. The Players Association was in a public war with ownership. Sides were being drawn. Every sports media personality had an opinion. The pressure on everyone connected to the WNBA was enormous, and Clark was right in the center of it, whether she wanted to be or not. A less secure person uses that NBC seat differently. They drop a hint. They shade someone without naming them. They let a loaded pause do the talking. That is how most people handle a platform when they have grievances, and Clark had every reason to have grievances. She is the player the league built its future around, and she was not even at the negotiating table while veterans fumbled everything she helped build. She chose a different path. Every answer was measured. Every word was deliberate. She talked about the league like someone who actually wants to see it survive, not like someone looking for a moment to score points. That is a rare quality. And most people do not find that kind of discipline until much later in their careers, if ever.
Caitlin Clark to be on the big three because she's going to really help in so many different ways in bringing the WNBA into a new level.
Colin Cowherd has been watching Clark since before she stepped foot in a WNBA arena. He compared her impact to Michael Jordan in his 3rd year, not because of the rings or the titles, but because of what she did to the culture around the game. Jordan made basketball bigger than basketball. Clark did the same thing for women's basketball. She made people who had never watched a single WNBA game pull out their phones and buy tickets. Cowherd watched that NBC moment and said what a lot of people were thinking. Here is a 22-year-old acting more professionally than veterans who have been in this league for a decade. Here is the player who created the revenue everyone is currently fighting over. Sitting calmly in the middle of the storm she did not start. He did not frame it gently. He pointed out the absurdity of the situation directly, the golden goose sitting composed on national television, while the people benefiting from her success were out there threatening to blow the whole thing up. The contrast wrote itself. Cowherd just had the guts to say it on air. What hit different about his take was the specificity. He was not just saying Clark is good at basketball. He was saying she understands something about leverage and timing that veterans with 10 more years of experience still have not figured out. Silence at the right moment is louder than anything you can say. Showing up prepared when everyone else is distracted is a statement without a single word attached to it. Clark made that statement on NBC. If that kind of composure is not an accident, that is not something you perform for cameras. That is who Clark is, and it has been who she is from the moment she walked into a league that did not exactly roll out the welcome mat. And it made every veteran throwing a tantrum look even worse. The lie that blew up in their faces. For weeks, the WNBA Players Association ran a very specific story. They told fans there was no offer on the table. Owners were not negotiating in good faith. The league was refusing to give players what they deserved. They showed up at All-Star Weekend in shirts that read, "Pay us what you owe us." They placed an inflatable rat outside the NBA store. Social media posts went out. Interviews were given to sympathetic reporters who did not push back once. Fans believed it. Why would they not? Workers asking for fair pay while corporations hold out is a story people understand. Casual sports fans who do not follow the financial side of the league saw those shirts and immediately took the players' side. The narrative was perfect. Then the truth came out and everything fell apart. There was an offer on the table the entire time. Not a lowball offer, not an insult. A massive, detailed proposal that would have completely transformed what WNBA players earn. The numbers were not small. Average salaries would jump to $530,000 by 2026. Max salaries would hit close to $1.3 million immediately and grow to $2.4 million by 2031.
Reach that $1.1 million mark with revenue sharing and other bonuses.
That is more than triple what the top players in the league currently make. The offer included charter flights, which players had been asking for years, better health benefits, stronger retirement plans. Real revenue sharing is tied to the league's continued growth. The Players Association leadership knew about this offer the whole time they were telling fans there was nothing on the table. They had the details in their inboxes while they wore those shirts at All-Star Weekend. They understood exactly what was being proposed, while they told reporters the owners would not negotiate seriously. When the numbers leaked, the reaction flipped overnight. Fans who had been defending the players started asking questions. Comment sections that were full of support turned skeptical. People who had shared those posts and talked about solidarity suddenly felt like they had been used. The Players Association tried to pivot. They started talking about gross revenue versus net revenue, like that would confuse people enough to move on. When they argued the offer was not generous enough despite it being the biggest salary jump in the league's history, they shifted the goalposts and hoped the spin would stick. Most fans saw through it. The credibility damage was real. You cannot tell people there is no offer, get caught, and then expect everyone to keep trusting your version of events. The story the Players Association built was effective while it lasted, but it only lasted until someone checked the facts. Colin Cowherd pointed out the absurdity of the whole situation. Players were calling million-dollar contracts a slap in the face. They were demanding 30% of gross revenue from a league that has lost $300 million over 30 years. The WNBA is growing, but it is not printing money. The owner's offer recognized the growth and rewarded players for it while keeping the league financially stable. The Players Association wanted a completely different business model that would have changed how the entire operation runs. That gap between what they asked for and what was financially realistic told the real story. The empty chairs in New York. After weeks of stalled negotiations, the owners set up a face-to-face meeting in New York. This was supposed to be the moment where both sides sat in the same room and worked through everything. The league cleared schedules. Owners brought financial advisors and lawyers. Representatives came prepared with data, projections, and contract language ready to draft. The whole setup showed how seriously the ownership side was taking this. One, Kelsey Plum and Nafisa Collier did not show up. These are not background players. They are on the executive committee of the Players Association. They are the people who are supposed to be leading negotiations and making decisions on behalf of every WNBA player, from the superstars to the rookies, just trying to make a roster. Their reason for missing the most important meeting of the entire process? Travel issues from Miami. They could not manage to book a flight a day early.
I have tried to have these conversations in private, but it's clear there is no intention of accepting there's a problem.
Meanwhile, roughly 40 other players who joined the meeting remotely spent the Zoom call doodling, not engaging with proposals, not asking questions, just present enough to technically be there. The optics were brutal. These same veterans had been loudly demanding that NBA Commissioner Adam Silver show up to negotiations personally as proof the league was serious. They wanted the top person in the room to prove that ownership was committed, but they could not get themselves to New York for a face-to-face with the people who write the checks. Where were Plum and Collier while the meeting was happening? This is where the story gets complicated. Napheesa Collier is a co-owner of Unrivaled, a 3-on-3 league that competes directly with the WNBA for players, fans, sponsors, and media attention. Kelsey Plum has an equity stake in Unrivaled as well. Breanna Stewart is also involved in this venture. They are negotiating on behalf of WNBA players while holding financial stakes in a league that benefits if the WNBA struggles. Think about what that means. If the 2026 WNBA season gets delayed or canceled, players who cannot play in the WNBA need somewhere to go. Some of them go to Unrivaled. If WNBA salaries stay lower, Unrivaled becomes more financially attractive. If the WNBA loses momentum with fans, a competing league picks up those disappointed viewers. The conflict of interest is not subtle. It is sitting right on the surface for anyone willing to look. Colin Cowherd looked. He said what everyone was thinking out loud. You cannot negotiate in good faith for one league while you are financially invested in that league's competition.
I made an investment for 5 years and it lost money. They started making cash. I'm not bailing on the investment.
You cannot be trusted to protect all WNBA players when you personally profit if negotiations fall apart. The empty chairs in New York were not just bad optics. They were a signal about where some people's real priorities were. 2 years of being in the way. The behavior during CBA negotiations did not come out of nowhere. Ever since Clark entered the WNBA, a pattern had been building. Veterans who felt threatened by the attention she brought made a choice. Instead of welcoming what she was doing for the league, they spent 2 seasons trying to minimize it. It started on the court. Clark would drop 30 points, and veterans would tell reporters it was not that impressive. She would break rookie records, and players would say the records did not matter much. The physical play was obvious. Elbows away from the ball, hard fouls that had nothing to do with making a basketball play, targeting that became frequent enough that the league had to step in with enforcement. Officials started reviewing the film. Suspensions were handed out. Indiana had to add Sophie Cunningham to the roster specifically to protect Clark from constant physical intimidation.
At the end of the day, I'm going to protect my teammates. That's what I do. And I'm a team player, so it's all good.
Cunningham was the youngest black belt in Missouri at age 6. The Fever needed that kind of presence because veterans around the league were crossing lines that normal basketball does not cross. The fact that a team had to bring in an enforcer for their star guard tells you everything about how bad it got. Off the court, the behavior was just as calculated. Veterans went on podcasts and criticized the new fans Clark brought in. They called them bandwagoners. They complained that casual fans only cared about one player instead of appreciating the whole league. They acted offended that people who had never watched a WNBA game were now buying tickets. Instead of welcoming that audience, they gatekept. They lectured. They made new fans feel unwelcome for not knowing enough history. Kelsey Plum went on record at All-Star Weekend dismissing Clark's impact. She credited veteran players for the league's growth and treated the timing of the surge as a coincidence. She acted like the arenas were filling up on their own, like the TV ratings were climbing because of something that had nothing to do with the player generating all the attention. The numbers do not support that version of the story. Attendance, ratings, and revenue all moved in one direction when Clark entered the league. Not before, not gradually over the years. When Clark showed up, the numbers went up. Cowherd said it plainly. The veterans were acting like band members who are angry that the new member is the one writing the hits. They are upset that Clark is the reason they are now staying at the Four Seasons instead of Motel 6. She created the success they are all benefiting from, and instead of recognizing that, they spent 2 years trying to push her back. Clark hit more three-pointers in her rookie year than Steph Curry did in his first MVP season. She led the league in assists as a rookie. Those numbers embarrassed veterans who had been in the league for a decade. Cowherd said that is exactly why the jealousy ran so deep that they could not compete with what she was doing on the court.
Every player in the WNBA is jealous of Caitlin Clark.
So they tried to tear her down everywhere else. What they almost burned down, the Players Association did not stop at lies and empty chairs. As the CBA deadline approached and negotiations stalled, they went further. They implemented a full moratorium on all contact between players and teams. No workouts at team facilities, no communication with coaches, no team-related activities of any kind, a complete shutdown. If the 2026 WNBA season was suddenly hanging over a cliff, the moratorium covered everything: official practices, casual check-ins, conversations between players and front office staff. The Players Association drew a hard line and told everyone on their side not to cross it. They were not negotiating anymore. They were holding the season hostage. Think about who that actually hurts. Caitlin Clark's Fever roster was stacked going into 2026. Boston, Mitchell, Hull, and Cunningham are all back together, with chemistry built over 2 seasons of competing for championships. The team was ready. Clark was entering her prime. And everything was set up for the kind of run that would have broken viewership records again and pushed the league to another level. The moratorium put all of that on pause. Veterans who had spent 2 years complaining that Clark was getting too much attention were now using tactics that would cancel the season she was about to dominate. The irony was not lost on anyone paying attention. Fans who had been slowly converted into WNBA viewers during Clark's first 2 seasons.
Iowa's Caitlin Clark has become a national phenom, and some fans say they went the extra mile just to watch her play here.
We're watching their interests get treated like a bargaining chip. People who bought season tickets, who planned trips around games, who got their families into women's basketball for the first time, all of them were now on the outside looking at a shutdown they had no control over. The public sympathy that the Players Association had at the start of negotiations evaporated. Comment sections that had been full of support turned harsh. Former defenders started asking what the players were actually thinking. Fans felt used first by the lie about there being no offer, and now by a tactic that punished the audience just to win a negotiation. Cowherd did not pull punches. He said the veterans were turning down contracts 10 times higher than their current paychecks over demands that did not match business reality. He called the strategy self-destructive. He pointed out that without Clark, there is no massive TV deal. Without Clark, there are no sold-out arenas. Without Clark, the salary offers sitting on the table do not exist. Every dollar the Players Association was fighting over came from the revenue Clark generated. The irony of using that revenue as a weapon against the player who created it was not subtle. The season being saved, if it gets saved, will not be because of the veterans who spent 2 years trying to limit Clark's influence. It will be because her presence, her professionalism, and her star power gave the league value worth fighting for in the first place. Here is where this lands. Caitlin Clark did not need to say a word to win this moment. She just showed up and did what she always does. Meanwhile, the people who spent 2 years dismissing her handed everyone the receipts. The lies about negotiations, the empty chairs in New York, the conflict of interest nobody wanted to say out loud. Colin Cowherd said it anyway. And now the whole country is watching to see what happens next. The 2026 season is still uncertain. But what is not uncertain anymore is who built this league's future and who nearly burned it down out of jealousy. Drop your take in the comments below. Hit the bell so you never miss when we go this deep again.